So, a fun fact about our next speaker is she spent 2 years traveling the US and Canada in an RV. And her topic is, which money type is driving your bus? Or in her case, it could be her RV. It's Emily Bouchard.
Well, I have to say that was a perfect act to follow. I'm so thrilled because everyone says, communicate. Make sure you communicate. And I'm going to tell you why we don't communicate well about money. Sound good? When people find out that the books that I write have titles like estate planning or prenups, they wonder, why would a social worker write books like this? Well, having worked with hundreds of families of high net worth all around the US and Canada, I can tell you, nobody knows how to talk about money well. And I started to wonder about what the patterns were I kept seeing everywhere. And in 2008, I started to apply this in my own life, when not only did the financial crisis happen, but my divorce happened. And I had to deal with a lot of money conversations in my marriage as it was coming apart. I was also getting trained as a money coach by Deborah Price at the Money Coaching Institute. And these are her books where she talks about the 8 most common archetypes related to money. And you want to know who's driving the bus, and guess what? It's a 7-year-old. We are 7 by the time that our money types are formed. Now these are Jungian-based archetypes, and all they are patterns of behavior. They're familiar to you because we all have all 8 of these. They're adaptive strategies we come up with to say, I'm going to survive if I take on one of these personas. Now the reason you're familiar with them is every single one of us has all 8. Now, I found out my predominant archetype is the innocent. So no matter how old I am, when a letter from the IRS turns up in my mailbox, my innocent wants to crawl under my desk. So I have to empower her in different ways. She gets really anxious and overwhelmed, and you may know somebody who has this. And if you're writing your blogs, you want to be thinking about these different archetypes because these are the people that are reading them. And they're going to trigger different archetypes as you go. An innocent can often become a victim when they start to blame other people or circumstances for their situation. Now, I know none of you would ever do this, but you may know of some people in your life that do. And you want to watch out when that archetype starts to show up because it's going to get continually victimized by who? The tyrant, whose job it is to keep pulling that football out until you get the lesson and you take responsibility. Charlie Brown's the reason he's on his back, not Lucy. Tyrant comes up for anybody when there's a sense of something's at stake for me that I'm afraid is going to get harmed or hurt, and I need to have the best defense I know, which is a good offense. And they get offended. What you want to do is bring forward the warrior. Now, every single person in this room is a warrior. Why? Because you're blogging about money. You're willing to talk about this topic that nobody else wants to talk about and is afraid of. Now the warrior is where you want to really come from, but you want to make sure that you're speaking into these other ones because your language is very different than the other archetypes. So you want to be familiar with these. And it's great that we're committed to and we're really driven to help people, but we have to be careful we don't become martyrs. Anyone here ever have the experience of staying up a little bit too late to take care of that one person's comment or that one email? Or you find yourself burning out a little bit? That's your martyr archetype coming forward, and you want to take care of yourself while you're taking care of other people. Or if you find yourself being passive-aggressive in your behaviors, that's another one you want to be thinking about. And that's St. Joan, for those of you who don't know Ingrid Bergman. And then you want to know the Fool. The Fool is an archetype that we all have, and we need it to make financial decisions. Why? It allows us to take risks. But we don't want it driving the bus because it could drive it over a cliff, being very optimistic that it'll fly, right? Ponzi schemes. My experiences as an innocent, that I had some really poor financial decisions. I had to learn discernment and to not listen to fools or creator artist archetypes who are more conflicted about money, who are more challenged by money. Even though they enjoy what they can do, they can have great success, they can't seem to keep that money. And we want to really cultivate the magician for people because we want, and for ourselves, because then we're in that flow. Anybody here have synchronistic events that happened for you while you were here? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I met that person at that time for that thing. That's your magician at play. And the more we can cultivate this one, we're going to have the most integrated way of approaching life, and we're going to have the greatest amount of success that we could possibly have. And we'll have a sense of ease and flow and connection. And so I started off talking about 2008 and what a nightmare that was, and so I'm looking forward to 2018 and bringing my magician forward even more, taking care of my innocent in the passenger seat, but having my magician drive, because that's the reason I'm up on the stage. I was an alternate.